The words landed like a punch I never saw coming. Pack your bags. Old man. You've got 1 week. It was October 22nd, 2024. Just 7 days after we laid my son Michael to rest in that quiet Columbus cemetery. I stood there watching the dirt cover his casket while his 26-year-old widow, Brittany, scrolled through her phone like the whole thing was an inconvenience. Now here she was in my garage, perfectly polished nails drumming on her expensive handbag, ordering me out of the only home I'd known for years. I looked at her for what felt like forever. Then, surprisingly even to myself, I smiled, a small, quiet smile that comes from knowing truths the other person can't imagine. Is that so? I said softly. Brittany had no clue who she was really dealing with. She thought she knew everything about me, but she was wrong in the worst possible way. Let me take you back to understand how we reached this breaking point. It started 3 years earlier when Michael married Brittany in 2021. I genuinely believed I was gaining a daughter-in-law, someone to share family moments with. But from the first day, it was clear I didn't belong in her picture-perfect world. Brittany grew up privileged. Her father owned multiple car dealerships. She leased luxury SUVs, got regular manicures that cost hundreds, and carried bags worth more than many people's monthly rent. Me? I was Robert Hayes, 62 years old, preferring comfortable flannel shirts from the local store and driving an older pickup truck with high mileage. To Brittany, I looked exactly like what she assumed, a struggling handyman crashing in his son's garage. That's where Michael suggested I stay temporarily after their wedding, just until we sort out the living situation, he said. 3 years passed, and I was still on that fold-out bed next to my workbench. The little indignities piled up slowly. When her yoga group visited, she'd politely suggest I find something to do outside. During dinner parties, I'd eat alone while laughter echoed from the main house. I'd overhear her friends ask about the guy in the garage, and she'd explain I was going through a rough patch. Michael would defend me half-heartedly. He's family. Britt. He's had some tough times. But she'd laugh it off. Tough times? It's been 3 years, time to grow up. The worst moments weren't the sleeping setup or solitary meals. It was her casual dismissals, spoken loud enough for me to hear while fixing their leaky pipes or mowing the lawn. I don't get why he can't just move somewhere else, she'd say. My friends feel awkward coming over. Or when bills arrived, property taxes over $8,000. She'd sigh dramatically. Who has that kind of cash? Credit card it is. I was right there, silent. When the water heater failed, costing nearly $5,000 to replace, she turned to me. You know anyone offering payment plans? We're not exactly loaded. I handled the repair myself over 2 days, saving them every penny. Her response? Telling Michael it was nice he's finally being useful. What she never noticed were the neighbors. Mrs. Patel, next door, waved every morning during my walks, knowing I checked on rental homes nearby. The HOA president, Mr. Thompson, asked about business at Davis Builders, the company I'd grown from scratch over 35 years. Even local council members nodded respectfully at the hardware store. They knew I'd constructed half the homes in our subdivision. Brittany saw only an old man in work clothes. The tension built toward a breaking point 3 weeks before Michael's sudden passing. She hosted a lavish book club dinner for women dripping in designer items, discussing investments casually, hiding in the garage. I overheard one ask about the situation with the man out there. Brittany replied smoothly, "That's my father-in-law. He's facing financial struggles, so we're helping temporarily." How generous, the guest said. Must be tough having someone who doesn't match your vibe around constantly. Brittany laughed sharply. You have no idea. Last week he questioned spending $60 on olive oil, like he doesn't get that quality matters. That $60 oil? I could have covered their entire grocery run for weeks with what sat in my accounts. But no one knew except my longtime attorney, David Reynolds. After the funeral, when Brittany issued her eviction demand, I knew it was time for truths to surface. The next morning she called with that fake sweet voice. I hope you've thought about our talk. I need space to grieve. And you're a constant reminder of the loss. She painted herself as the burdened young widow unable to care for an elderly dependent. There are nice senior places where you'd fit in better, she suggested. Subsidized housing. Food assistance programs. She called me a dependent, claimed my presence embarrassed her social circle, and insisted on boundaries, no unannounced visits after I left. I stayed calm, asking quietly about property taxes, insurance, mortgage, who really paid them, about the deed in whose name. She brushed it off, insisting it was now her house as community property. This talk has been enlightening, I told her. I'll make some calls today. After hanging up, I sat quietly, then dialed David Reynolds, my lawyer of over 3 decades. We met the following day in his familiar office with its worn leather chairs and family photos. David expressed condolences about Michael, then listened as I recounted the garage years, the constant belittling, the eviction threat. When I finished, he shook his head. She has no idea. Does she? None at all. Michael had kept my support hidden. David pulled my thick file, reviewing assets methodically. The house purchased decades ago, now worth hundreds of thousands. Mortgage long paid off. My construction firm with millions in annual revenue. Investment accounts over $1 million. 18 rental properties valued at nearly $5 million. Total net worth around $7 million. David laughed softly at the irony. Brittany thought I needed food stamps while living in my paid-off home, driving luxury on my dime indirectly. Legally, I owned everything. She was a month-to-month tenant without a lease. I could evict her easily. Michael's unrepaid loans to me totaled over $200,000. Now her estate responsibility. We discussed options. Public revelation at the upcoming HOA meeting felt right. Let the community see the real dynamic after years of watching her dismiss me. David prepared documentation. Subtle shifts began almost immediately. Utility companies started questioning Brittany's authority on accounts in my name since the 1980s. She called me frustrated. They say they need owner approval. Can you help? I played innocent. Gas, water, internet. Each call left her more flustered. Mail arrived addressed to me. Tax notices, insurance statements. Neighbors like Mrs. Patel innocently asked Brittany if I planned to sell more local properties, mentioning my rentals and builds. Brittany stammered denials, insisting I was struggling financially. The confrontation came early one morning. Brittany stormed into the garage in her robe, phone in hand, demanding answers about the deed showing my name since 1989. Michael lied to me, she accused. You've been lying with this poor old man act. I responded calmly. I own many things. Neighbors overheard the raised voices. Mr. Thompson across the street. Mrs. Patel watering plants. Others walking dogs. She insisted on her rights as widow. Called it her home. I pointed out assumptions. She assumed poverty, dependence, ownership. Mr. Thompson confirmed I'd built much of the neighborhood. Mrs. Patel added my successful contractor reputation. Brittany's face flushed with realization and humiliation as the group gathered. You've been supported by someone worth millions while treating me like a burden, she whispered. I simply noted she supported herself through illusions. By November 2nd, Brittany fought back online. In community Facebook groups, she posted vaguely about discovering deception, elderly manipulation, and financial abuse by a family member pretending need. Comments started sympathetic but shifted when locals recognized me. You mean Robert Hayes? He built my kitchen, he doesn't need help. Others noted my donations. Business scale. My lawyer commented confirming no support flowed to me. Urging post removal. Backlash mounted. Posts vanished, but screenshots spread. The days before the HOA meeting dragged as I reviewed 35 years of records on my workbench. Deeds. Receipts. Tax returns. Loan notes. Business ledgers. Each paper told the quiet truth. My house bought in 1989 for under $70,000. Fully paid decades ago. Utilities. Taxes. Insurance all mine. Company revenues in the tens of millions. Properties generating steady income. Accounts holding hundreds of thousands liquid. Specifics stung most. Wedding costs I covered fully. Car down payment check. Credit card bailouts. Home renovations. Groceries stocked secretly. Vehicle maintenance. All funded by me without fanfare. Michael's private note found after his death revealed his intent to protect me, acknowledging my sacrifices while he maintained appearances for Brittany. He'd started changing his life insurance beneficiary to me, but never finalized it. Brittany had enjoyed a subsidized lifestyle she attributed to Michael. Numbers proved otherwise. I'd spent hundreds of thousands supporting them over 3 years while receiving nothing. She owned leased assets and part-time yoga income. I employed dozens and contributed heavily locally. The HOA meeting on November 5th drew an unusually large crowd. Word traveled fast. I arrived early with my box of documents. Dressed simply. Brittany sat front row in morning black, flanked by friends, whispering glances my way. After standard items, she addressed the room emotionally, grieving her husband, struggling to support his dependent father amid misrepresentation, framing my request to leave as necessary boundaries against dishonesty. Scattered applause followed. I approached the microphone calmly. There's been deception, I began, but not from who she claims. I displayed the deed, my purchase in 1989. Taxes and mortgage mine alone. Utilities paid by me for decades. Wedding receipt, $85,000 covered fully. Car down payment check. Credit consolidations. Renovation invoices totaling tens of thousands. Grocery and maintenance logs. Bank statements. Portfolio values. Property maps. Company summaries. All laid bare. Gasps filled the room as figures mounted. Nearly $350,000 spent on their lifestyle. My net worth exceeding $7 million. I explained Michael's loans from me. His embarrassment. My choice to let him appear as provider out of love. I supported you both quietly while being called an embarrassment. Told I didn't understand money. Asked to leave for not fitting your circle. Brittany stood abruptly, denying and accusing fabrication. I held Michael's note. Read parts about protection and truth. The room stayed silent. I concluded by announcing her 30-day eviction notice and expectation of debt repayment from the estate. The meeting ended in stunned quiet. Eviction notice arrived next morning via legal channels, ironclad. BMW repossession followed due to missed payments and lost co-signer generosity. Debt notices for remaining loans landed soon after. Her social circle distanced quickly. HOA meeting videos circulated privately. The yoga studio ended her part-time role citing cuts. But community ties played a role. I reclaimed the main house mid-November, leaving Michael's personal items untouched for her retrieval. Brittany relocated temporarily with family in Columbus, claiming it short-term while sorting finances. Debts exceeded $200,000. Assets minimal beyond furniture bought with my indirect funds. I resumed my routines, same old truck, flannel shirts, thermos coffee, but now with genuine neighbor respect. Waves carried warmth from those knowing my contributions. HOA elected me president unanimously in December. Mornings in my kitchen, I reflect on Michael, his love for Brittany, desire to provide. The quiet way I enabled it for years. Respect can't be borrowed. It must be earned. Brittany learned costly lessons about assumptions, appearances, and family dynamics. The community saw raw truths, hidden support versus public disdain, wealth masked by humility, consequences of entitlement. Some questions linger. What if openness replaced secrets? How do perceptions shape treatment? Did love justify the silence? Life continues simply for me, yet richer, in quiet dignity. The garage cot sits empty, a reminder of illusions shattered and truths finally voiced. In the end, assumptions blinded more than any wallet ever could. What would you have done differently knowing the full story? The silence after such revelations often speaks loudest.